I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street.
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Barry McClain Jr. Barry is a penciler and comic book artist for Blue Juice Comics and Valiant Comics and all kinds of other comics. He's got a whole lot of different projects and books in the works. We talk about all of those, plus where he grew up and what got him into comic books. It's a little bit unusual, I think, the way he got led into comic books, but you be the judge. Barry is also a rapper, a musician, and he lets us play one of his songs. You know how I love playing music on my show, so another great song on today's show. Make sure you reach out to him and buy all of his books. He's a really, really talented artist. You guys are going to be super impressed if you don't already know this guy's work. When you see it, you're going to be blown away. This was recorded during all the self-distancing due to the coronavirus outbreak. So if that is over by now, woohoo. If not, damn it. But either way, this is my conversation with graphic artist and musician Barry McClain Jr.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Barry McClain. How you doing today, man?
All right, partner. How you doing?
I am fantastic. I probably should have added the Junior or maybe even the Tyrone.
Yeah, you should put the Junior because I don't want my dad getting credit for my artwork, man.
Yeah, Dad. What's your problem, Dad?
He just made me, that's all.
Yeah, what else? That's it. Just no big deal. He made you, raised you, that's all.
You know.
All right, Barry. So, I know that you ran barefoot through broken glass in Nakatomi Plaza. Oh, no. Different McClain.
Yes, that was absolutely me. I had the fire hose around my waist as well.
Give me one good yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Nice.
You know, that joke was told, like, ever since that movie came out, my mom took me to go see 1 and 2. Because I'm 40 years old, I'm a product of the 80s. So, like, back in the day when they took us to see bloody movies and nobody was protesting about it. Like, every action scene. But she took me to go see that. I came back to school, told everything about it, everybody talking about it at school. I got the McClain joke till the end of high school. And it's stuck, though, you know, so.
I love it. All right, well, Barry, tell me about where you were born and raised, man. Where'd you grow up?
I started as a little itchy bitchy penciler from Trenton, New Jersey. Born and raised in Mercer County, man. I'm a Jersey boy through and through, 609 to the death, man. Jersey boy. What about you? You from Texas?
Born and raised in San Antonio, man.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
I've only been to a couple of cities in Jersey. Obviously, I've been to Red Bank.
Yes, of course.
But my favorite city to stay in when we're going to New York, because who could afford to stay in New York City?
Oh, my God. Even vacationing there, staying with your family is like...
That's right. So whenever my wife and I would go, you know, back before COVID when you could travel to places,
right?
My wife and I would stay in Rahway, New Jersey, and then just hop the train to New York.
Oh, Rahway. As long as you wasn't in the prison, I'm fine with that.
No, we were in like the Hampton Hams or some shit.
Yeah, you're in a nice spot.
No, I meant like the Hampton Inn. That's what I call the Hampton Inn. I call them the Hampton Hams. Well, you grew up in Trenton, New Jersey, and I really want to know when you got into comic books and why you got into comic books.
That's a good question because you wouldn't realize it. It was like my mom got me into comic books because she's a horror chick, and she was like the proto-geek girl that we have today. You know, the chicks that be posing with checkerboard shoes and stuff and glasses. My mom was the real nerdy girl with gazelles on, like the big gazelle glasses that spit over your eyes. And she used to read Fangoria magazine a lot. She was always a geek girl. She started getting into comics herself with her brother around in the 60s, around that time, the atomic time. She was born around the atomic time in the 60s. She just put it in my face all the time. I just had like Spider-Man and stuff like that. I was drawing Spider-Man in the dirt with a stick at the time because she taught me how to draw Spider-Man. She was like, you just do the upside down egg and the lemons on the eyes and then the line down and up, then hump, and the circle in the middle. And I was drawing this like Spider-Man since I was like 3 years old in the dirt, man. And Fangoria magazine, I used to see that, and Mad magazine. It's like the Mad magazine used to get me a lot besides like the regular Spider-Man and stuff like that. And I was always attracted to Mortimer Drucker stuff too. But the art, though, that only comes after you enjoy the comics itself. And she got me into that and told me the stories of how Thor put his hammer down in the ground from an old man and becomes the mighty Thor, or put his cane down on the ground, and Spider-Man's origin story. And those were like my bedtime stories. So that's really how I kind of got into comics until I started collecting myself, you know, other than the 7-Eleven. You remember the 7-Eleven rack shop? That's the only place we can get comics at.
Right.
Growing up in Trenton, New Jersey, I really didn't have a lot of outlets to get comic books. So when I ever got to a Woolworth or a 7-Eleven, I was all over it. And I didn't start collecting really hardcore until I was 13, 14. That's when I really wanted to do this stuff in 93, 94.
That's amazing that your mom is the one that got you into comic books. I can't imagine that that's a story that's very common.
Oh, my God. It's so weird, man, because I got a picture of me and my birth sister, who's now a doctor. She's in my mom's stomach. We're a year apart, and I'm reading the Spider-Man comic, leaning on her stomach while my mom got a Fangoria magazine. My dad took that picture. It's a classic picture, dude. And it's just coming full circle now that I'm a working professional. It's beautiful.
That is a kick-ass picture, dude. That sounds amazing.
It made me want to cry when I think about it sometimes.
It sounds like an origin story all by itself.
It's weird. But the journey's just beginning, you know, like even me and your relationship is like a part of my story now, that how I got onto you, but we can get into that a little bit later.
Well, we will get into that a little bit later. What did you want to be when you grew up, man?
Always a comic book artist. I always knew I was going to get into the arts, but I'm 40 years old. I ain't afraid to say my age, man. It's just that I come from a time where you had to take certain regular societal tests to make it. Like now we live in a world where you can just go on YouTube and make it, or make a GoFundMe and make it. But back then you had to go to school, graduate school, you get your driver's license, either you graduate college, or you just take these steps just to graduate in life. And so I grew up like my mom and my dad said, you can do anything you wanted to do, just make sure you're not hurting yourself or anybody else. And so with them being geeks themselves, they kind of allowed me to be free and didn't put any hindrances on what I could be. They always were like, you can be into art. But at that time, they look at you and say, comic books, like, yeah, right. Like, it's like a bad thing to be. They were like, what you really want to be is an architect. Because an architect can give you the money for that. And I'm like, architect, all that math. So I said architect all the way up to junior high. And then I just was like, man, I can't do this. It's just boring as hell. I like to draft, but the comic books was just calling me. And this around like Image Comics was forming and everything. I'm like 13, 14 years old. Fast forward to high school, because I let comic books go. I wanted to be an MC. I wanted to be a stage performer like that. But you let go of one just so you can do another. And that's the rule of alchemy. You don't want to burn yourself out. So by the time high school came, you know, I just wanted to be a performer, like an MC or whatever like that. You know, you couldn't get no girls with X-Men 25 in your back pocket, so I had to outrhyme everybody. So I was like flexing my lyrical skill, and that's how I got attention at high school, because there's a lot of toe tapping inside the bathroom stall. Like, if girls find out, like, X-Men 25, I don't care about that. You better be talking about that new Nas album, you know? So once I made the decision to do that, I gave up comic book art a little bit, but it was still always in my heart, man. It was just always in my heart. So when high school ended, you graduate high school, you got to go to college time. And then I was like, what do I do? So I went to Catherine Gibbs in Piscataway, New Jersey, because I didn't want to stay in my parents' house. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I'm out of high school. I got to get the hell out of here. I don't want to follow any rules. So they still kind of gave me the support to stay there a bit, but I was going back and forth at night during night school to Catherine Gibbs, got my associate's degree in graphic design. Got my first under the table gig with Yahara McCrae. I was doing like rappers as superheroes on the covers. And then it just snowballed, getting little commercial gigs. My comic book career didn't start till 2001.
Gotcha. So everybody who listens probably knows that I'm not the biggest comic book guy, but I do know that I believe it was the movie Mallrats, where somebody was called a tracer.
Yeah.
What's a tracer?
It kind of offends me because I'm a penciler. You know, I'm the guy, like, if it is such thing as the star of the show or the general or the thing, I'm the penciler. I'm the guy who lays down all the work after the writer gives me the script, you know, and that's the way you get the most money. I ink my own stuff when I'm not confident in an inker that can go over my lines right. Now, being that I do both jobs, I can tell you that joke is kind of bullshit. It's just a funny joke, though. It's a facetious joke. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the inker highlights what the penciler does. So I'll show you my pencils. You see my pencils online. I'm sure you see my pencils. And then when you see when the black's over it, the black ink over it, you see it accentuated differently, given it a different look and feel and texture. So without a good inker, the pencils will fall flat. Yeah, they go over the lines, but they add the line weights to the pencils. So a lot of pencils don't have line weights. The lines are thicker underneath the area where it's least light, and they're lighter where there is the most light, giving it contour, width, heft, and depth. So that's bullshit. I love Kevin and shit like that, but that joke's bullshit because I'm an actual artist, so, you know.
Now, you did mention that maybe I might have seen some of your penciling online, and it's funny that you say that because ever since we've been talking, not today, but like over the past few weeks,
yeah, bro.
I get all kinds of, I guess, advertisements to, I guess you sell your artwork, right? Like I get advertisements for like your She-Hulk drawings and all kinds of crazy things. How did that happen?
I don't know. And you know what, man? You know what? That's how elections were stolen. But but I'm going to tell you right now, that is just the algorithm. You're my algorithm now. And that old She-Hulk picture I did, that was like in the early beginnings of my career. You could just Google my name, and those are like old pics I did when I was just trying to get work, probably in like 2012 or 11. I did pinups and stuff on DeviantArt. But my friend, Matt Pierce, we did a book called Serial Tags. People kept comparing it to Dexter, but it's nothing like that. He's a coroner that picks up the dead bodies, but he brings the dead bodies.
Oh, that reminds me of a phrase I heard once, meat wagon.
Yeah, the meat wagon, man. And he's a meat wagon guy. The writer of it was a meat wagon guy, Matt Pierce. So he seen me drawing. He was like, you should really do comics. And then we did Serial Tax issue 1. And then I ended up doing another local book, Oblivion Chain, with Hayden Mears, who his dad is like some billionaire oil guy. But I needed the $70 a page at the time. So we did that, and that was like 2013 and 14. And then that is when I got signed at Denver Comic-Con. No, 15, I get signed with Valiant Entertainment.
Actually, why don't you tell that story? Because that's kind of a really cool story about how that all happened at the Comic-Con.
Yeah, it was weird, bro, because I was trying to get in, okay, like everybody else. I did a social experiment on Facebook. I said, if everything I do post here is all art, so if I don't get on, something's wrong with the industry. And that started in 2013. 2015 come around. I got the book. I got my portfolio. I did a whole bunch of samples with one of my best friends, Mike Duke, who I'm now doing the book now that's coming out. It's called Order of Day, but we can talk about that in a little bit. But I decided to do this. I'm tired of just the artist of getting all the shine, because we could just show our pages and get signed, you know? But a writer can't. You have to submit all this stuff, and they have to read through your work. And I love to read because that's what I do every day, but words are boring. So I decided, I said, hey, you write a script. You write a 5-page script. I'll write 5-page samples. We'll print them together, and we'll put them, market it together so that way they can read the little samples of the script and look at the page and see how it flowed. And I was marketing myself as a penciler. And so I go to 2015, Dinesh Dasani is sitting there, and Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor's there. Now, Peter Palmiotti is Jimmy Palmiotti's brother. If you're familiar with Palmiotti, him and Joe Quesada, they helped do the Marvel Knights line back in the day. They did with Kevin Smith, the Guardian Devil story arc with the Marvel Knights. And the rest is history. Joe Quesada goes on ahead to become the head of Marvel Comics at the time. But that's besides the fact. But when I met Palmiotti, Jimmy, and Amanda, they sitting there. They're looking at my portfolio because he knew I was coming to his table because I kept talking about him. His brother, Peter Palmiotti, told him I was coming to the table. So I come up there. I was like, hey, Jimmy. He doesn't even look up from his desk. He's like, hey, Barry. I'm like, oh, my God. I show him my portfolio. Him and Amanda kind of look at both my portfolios. She's like, Jimmy, look, like this is that. And he's like, man, I can see you're going to be the artist who's going to grow with every book you do. But why don't you go check Boom out, you know, and tell him Jimmy sent you. And I was like, okay, thanks, man. And blah, blah, blah. I get a good shining portfolio review from him. And so I'm like, but I don't want to get in on the back of Jimmy. I was kind of frustrated, so I go out with me and my dude. He was like, Barry, don't worry. You're going to get a nibble. We're going to get a nibble. We go to the Grey Water, eat some Chinese food in the middle of the rain. I'm pissed off. I'm like, and so I get a call from Matt Pierce, who's at our booth selling cereal tags with me. He says, dude, right now, get your ass over here to the table right now. Dinesh wants to talk to you. Valiant wants to talk to you. They want to review your portfolio. So I go rushing back there with my portfolio. I meet Dinesh. Dinesh goes, come to the back. He looks at my portfolio. He's the CCO at the time of Valiant Comics. He's the one who hires all the artists. And not a lot of editor-in-chiefs do that. CCOs do that, or in the weeds like that. And that's just the type of guy he is. He keeps his ears to the proverbial artistic streets. So he looked at my portfolio. He goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're hired. Give me the golden ticket. I call him the next week. I'm like a pinup artist and a random artist at Valiant Entertainment. I give him a hug and a kiss. And then he was like, Barry, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. He was like, Barry, all you new guys start this way. So, and I'm all crying and everything. I'm like, it finally happened.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
It is 2140. You are trapped in an underground bunker, built a century ago to protect mankind from the pandemic on the surface. Now ruled by tyrants and their robot army. You are an outcast, an orphan, a scavenger, blind, afraid, and alone. You are Ace, a survivor, and you will try to escape this place known as Subterra. Subscribe to Subterra at iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts.
Let's get back into it.
So what did that mean for you? I know that was a goal, but what did it mean for you to be accepted by such a high-ranking powerhouse in the industry, both emotionally and financially? What did that mean for you?
Oh, my God. I mean, financially, it frees you up because you're not a slave to a wage of, like, me working at Smashburger, because I was working at a Smashburger before that. And I told the Smashburger that I was like, I'm going to the DCC, and I might be giving them my 2 weeks, because I was like, why am I making a week's worth of wage over here when I can make that per page when I'm making a week? You understand? Mm-hmm. So I did the old school Hollywood thing. Hey, Ma, I'm packing my bags and I'm going to the big city type shit. So I was like, yo, I'm putting in my 2 weeks if I get signed. And I end up doing, I put in my 2 weeks and I haven't turned back since. But this was 15.
I'm sorry, were you living in Trenton at that time and you just like took a trip to Denver?
In Colorado.
Oh, you were already in Colorado. Okay.
Yeah, I was already living in Colorado. To backtrack a bit, I didn't move to Colorado till 2005.
Gotcha.
But other than that, I was always in Jersey. So when I got signed, what it meant for me financially, it freed me up. But again, it's a whole new frontier here. You're making your own money here. It's like driving a Lyft or an Uber. You get what you put in.
That makes sense.
You know, you really are. You absolutely do. And I can talk about these lazy-ass artists here in a bit. I'm going to get to that. But emotionally, my mom taught me how to draw. My dad's artistic. Art's in my family. It's in my blood. So it was like it actually came full circle. Definitely after I met Brian Pulido, creator of Lady Death, and he's my friend. He's a personal friend of mine, and Evil Ernie. He gave me advice and everything during all those years up to the point I got signed to Valiant. He told me to just pencil, and that's what I did, and then I got a job. But he said, you can color, you can pencil, you can ink, but just pencil, you'll always have a job. And I love him. God bless that man. I've never been out of work. Even during COVID, I still haven't stopped working till today.
That's kick-ass.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. But emotionally, again, it was a big burden of relief because, again, I told you I'm an MC. I was doing the show in 13 and stuff before I pursued this. I'm like 33 at the time, I want to say. And Stretch from Naughty by Nature was about to sign me, and I was about to pursue my hip-hop career and be away from my kids and my family. Or I can be at home and living my dream and being with my kids and family and get to raise my family and not have to worry about the sex, drugs, and stuff that comes with the music industry, you know. So I was lucky enough to have 2 bites at the apple of fame, notoriety and stuff like that. But I'm lucky in that I chose comics, who, as always, I like to call it the redheaded girl with braces at my locker when music dumped me. The redheaded girl pulls her head down, takes off her glasses, takes out a retainer. You're like, you were here with me all the time. And that's what comics was.
Well, it sounds like you quit music. Music didn't quit you.
Yeah, I kind of did quit it because I was just like, I still can do music, but I'd much rather do it at my own pace. And with my crew, Fascination here in Colorado, they give me a lot of links to get access and open up for a lot of people. And I can do my music without having to compete with the bullshit rap that you hear today. I could do the music that hip-hop heads love, hardcore music. Like, if you like Redman, Wu-Tang Clan, you would like my stuff. But if you like that Lil Wayne crap, you definitely wouldn't like my music.
Interesting. I'm an old school guy. I mean, I like NWA and...
God, you're going to love this shit. I'm going to give you the link when we're done, and you're going to listen to my YouTube channel, all right?
All right. Well, let me ask you this. While we're talking about your music, did you say Floalition?
Yeah, Floalition is the name of the clique. They sponsored me. Brian Pascal, he met me in a gas station before this comic book stuff started. And I was working in the gas station. And he was like, what are you doing working here?
Was it a Circle K?
Yeah, it was a Circle K, yes.
Shout out to Circle K.
Shout out to Circle K, though, because they helped me, because they feed my family, because they laid me a job. I give props to anybody who employs Barry McClain Jr.
Or senior, to be fair.
yeah, right. Well, my dad's the badass. He's the one with the Benz in the house and retiring, man. I want to be like him.
Well, it sounds like you certainly have the drive for it.
That's just me.
So, Barry, I've had a lot of music on my show, and I absolutely love that aspect of my podcast.
Yeah.
So that said, would it be okay if I played one of your songs on the show?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I wouldn't care.
Do you want to pick it?
If you go to Barry McClain Jr., and it's on YouTube, pick whatever you want. Like, I don't know. It's all hip-hop, man.
All right, Streetwalkers, this is Matinee Furlough by Barry McClain Jr.
A steampunk thumb sore from the beat 'em up. Since I was a routine, my blue jeans shrunk. Revolting from the big wig, ought to be the way to renege. Using the audio thing of a jig. My fiends for a hit, tell the fans he went that away. But it's a hip hop matinee, put the gat away. He real wicked, a cold meal skipping on the bill. Chill, the skill is still illicit. Gas are brought up like a whole trough of beans. By all means, sand screaming, don't cross the streams. Evidently bent, but the shit was a musket. Sputnik, rustic, butt kick, lovesick. A mechanized rhyme, shooter like Jekyll and Hyde. Ate him alive with the grape soda and fries. That's all of the time. The microphone automaton, leading your chairs like he caught a baton. A quick wit, misfit, break him down to tidbits. Thick hips, big tits, left him with a pitch tent. A hater to the rich, you can never miss. Only sipping near beer when he need to clear piss. Put a fountain pen to the vein and drew plasma. Staping out his brain since the days of you masters. Jalan's growing up fast, so's tut-tut. The yay and Lee's daddy get the butts. Paparazzi Maddie too dark the photo, but beautiful like Joe. Kinsey a go-go, cop a pair of bobos to post for the promo, to stick a whole blocks with the dead stock logo. The jocks wonder why the geeks keep the best toys. Dub the freaker with the wool rubbers than the pet boys. Lovely to kill time by study, old fuddy-duddy. Try to play the pen pal, buddy. Jot a catalog on our career's catapult. Where he at, scratching on his balls under parasols. He's so arrogant, multifaceted, flow so deep, listeners be dog paddling. If rhymes a chore, take off like runways. From drugs to gunplay, Sunday Blue Monday. If rap's a chore, take off like runways. From drugs to gunplay, Sunday Blue Monday.
Nice. I appreciate that, man.
Oh, real quick, tell me about how Latif helped inspire your path. Isn't that your uncle? I heard you in an interview. I did my research.
Oh, no, you probably heard the Valiant Central podcast. Remember when I told you I'm like almost everybody in my family do art, bro?
Right.
But you talking about my Uncle Latif. Yes, my Uncle Latif. Yes, that's my mom's brother, her only brother. He told me the philosophy of comics, and between him and my mom, I was always hearing these stories of the Marvel characters and everything like that. Again, he was a big influence on me in wanting to get into lore and really being a fucking geek about this stuff. And then my cousin Mercer, he actually collected comics, and he was a big influence on me. He taught me, like, hey, man, you know, bag and board your books and the number in order and what a story arc is and what an annual is. And when I cried when Supergirl died during the Crisis of Infinite Earths, he was like, don't cry, you little pussy. She's coming back. You know, but that was my first comic book death. I didn't know. I was like, Supergirl dead. But she came back. They always come back. They always come back. And my Uncle James, rest in peace, he taught me the art of the panel. He was like, you want to do panels. This is the boards you want to use. You want to use Zipatone for shading. Taught me stuff about color palettes. He taught me all those stuff about comic book arts when I was just 12 and 10, vacationing in New York from New Jersey in Brooklyn. He would take me to the Big Apple comic book shop and stuff like that. And that's when I kind of got into the Jim Lee art. And it was the first time I seen Jim Lee art that blew my mind, and that's when I knew from 12 that I did want to actually pursue to be professional. And then it just all blew up after Image Comics came out, and then practicing high school, you know, but nothing ever happened for me in comics, even after going to school for graphic design. It's just pure drive. That's the only way you're going to get here. I'm just so happy I didn't give up. And then I met Tom Mum of Blue Juice Comics, and that's when I get tied in with, you know, Mike and Ming and everybody like that, and Walt Flanagan and stuff.
Well, we'll get to those fools in just a second. But first, tell me about Billy the Kid.
Oh, my God. It's so weird. I don't know if people are familiar with Justin Gray, but he was a writer from DC. He is a writer from DC Comics. He doesn't work there anymore. But the last thing he did on DC was the New 52's Jonah Hex series, and him and Jimmy Palmiotti. And so I was stalking him for a minute, man, since 2015, man, because I always respected the stuff he did with X-Men and everything he did over at Marvel and DC. And I'm a fan of the writer because I'm a comic book geek, and I was a big fan of the writers. You know, I met Mike Carlin, the writer of Superman, when I was 12. And Brett Breeden, you know. Yeah, when I was 12, man. I've been trying to, my dad took me, man, when the Death of Superman tour came. They were doing the Superman Returns tour. I met Mike Carlin, shook his hand. He was like, damn, you got some storytelling chops, kid. Because I showed him some pages I did, marker and ballpoint pen. And Brad Breeden, the inker at the time, was like, yeah, man, you send the thick lines, but damn, man, you're good. And I was only 12. But, you know, it just came full circle. I got a chance to reach out to both of them on Facebook as well and told them what they did for me. And now I'm working professional. So that was a real beautiful thing to happen. But those are really great guys. God bless them. And
that is kick ass.
Yeah, man. Billy the Kid, though. Back to Justin. My brother. I love this dude, man. So I stalked him. He was giving me advice like, don't do this, don't do that. Fill in the X's in your panels. And I was just showing him. He'll send me back. Showing him, he'll send me back. Then one day I sent him some Ninja Turtle samples I did. And that piqued his interest because I guess he had this Billy the Kid idea, and it was all the animal universe. So basically, Billy the Kid is a story of a tornado hunter. It's set in the animal universe. It's a horror Western fantasy book. Again, it's a more adult rating on the book because it's very graphic, as in gore. It's a monster book. It's really good. It's not like Usagi Ojambo. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm penciling and inking it. He's writing it. And we're on issue number 5. I'm inking issue number 5 right now, and it's going to be released on Blue Juice Comics. So I'm really proud about that.
Oh, real quick, I just want to bring something up. Just going to flash back to the music just for a second.
Yeah.
I got a buddy who lives in Indiana. His stage name is Ambush Vin, and he is a rapper, but
right.
He raps about nerd shit. He raps about...
Like me.
Yeah, well, he raps about Star Wars and...
Yeah, like me.
Yeah, and he's got a song that is timed with the finale of Supernatural that's all about Dean Winchester and all that stuff.
That's sick.
He's been on my show twice. Both times he let me play a song because he's super dope. Such a good guy.
Right.
And I just want you two to know each other because he's always doing these amazing videos and he's got great skills and he writes wonderfully and you've got great skills and you draw badass. And I think that the two of you could possibly do something, you know, some sort of a collab.
It's not really such thing as possibly, brother. It starts with the network, and you just did it. So have them reach out to me, man. We can get it going.
I will do that.
I do artwork for everybody. I'm a commercial artist. I do people album covers. I do flyers. I'll do your flyer for your bar mitzvah if you want me to.
Well, that would be difficult because I'm 46 and not Jewish, but I appreciate where you're going with that. You just missed it.
Oh, shit, dude. What the fuck? I'm always interested in linking up with other artists, man. I'm not that type of guy.
Nice. Now let's get back to Nerd in Print. Tell me about Annie Bonny.
Yeah, Anne Bonny. Oh, my God. That brings me back again full circle to Tom Mum, because in 2014, I was sitting drawing a book called Canada Jack, and it's an old property. It's called Public Domain Character. And public domain characters are characters that you can reinvent because they are public domain, like Pinocchio.
Okay.
And so my friend Travis Tomlin, well, of course, now he's my friend because I didn't know him before until we started working together, but this was my first actual comic book run. He asked me to do it and everything like that, and I was doing that book, and I was getting paid for it, and it's getting self-published by him on Atrophy Comics. And in between that time, I'm sitting there listening to Mike and Ming on I Sell Comics. And this is like 2014, and Mike and Ming is on I Sell Comics talking to Tom Mum, Ronnie Porto, and Gavin Smith at the time. And they're the creators of this book. And so I'm listening to them, and they're talking about this and Accelerators, and I'm looking at Accelerators, and I'm like, you know what, man, the art's good, but I want to put some art on there because I really like their vibe and their drive, and I just wanted to get anything. It was just something about the Accelerators book and that story of Anne Bonny. It was just so, both of them were just so innocent and adventurous. I just wanted a part of it. You know what I mean? It wasn't Marvel. It wasn't DC. I just kind of wanted to as well be with a company that would appreciate me, like I feel that Marvel and DC wouldn't. So I pretty much asked Tom Mum, I was like, hey, man, you got any pinup work, any cover work? He's like, nah, we ain't got nothing. Sorry, brother. No, he ain't say it like that. No, he was just like, no, we don't have anything right now. I love him. No, Tom, you know I love you, motherfucker. And so I kept persisting. You know, I get signed with Valiant, and then he says, hey, we got a pinup spot for Accelerators issue 14. I got that. And then the artist at the time colored that pinup that I had in Accelerators. And then I did a pinup in issue 15. And then I get into the trade. And now I'm in Barnes & Noble. Now, here we are. It's 2018. The artist fell off for some reason. Just couldn't get the job done. Tom Mum says, Barry, can you save the book? It took me about 5 or 6 years, brother, just to get a full book with my name on it and credit on it. And this is from the time I got signed with Valiant. So I go, yes, 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 yes. And so he gave me a 12-page one-shot on Anne Bonny. She's like a pirate. She's a girl pirate. It's just like so fun and innocent, you know?
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
You know those popping phone handle things that you see on everyone's phones nowadays? Well, how would you like to put your logo on them? Does your podcast or band need new merch? Do you want to bring attention to your new book or film? Maybe you need something unique for your Patreon or crowdfunding campaign. Then visit thelogopop.com, where you can customize them with the logo of your podcast, band, business, art, school mascot, or whatever else you can think of. These are way more affordable than you may think at thelogopop.com. Mention where you heard this ad and get free shipping on your entire order. Remember, that's thelogopop.com to order your custom popping phone handles. That's thelogopop.com.
Let's get back into it.
Are you into pirates?
Who's not into pirates?
You know what? You said the right thing, because I was about to say, but how the fuck you ain't going to be into pirates?
Well, unless you're talking about Somali pirates, and then they can go get fucked. But no, I'm talking about real pirates.
No, look at me. Look at me. I'm your captain now. No. Yeah, man. She's like a little teenage pirate, and she got a talking ship, and it's just got the steampunk thing in it. And it's just right up my alley. And it came at the right time because I didn't have anything innocent to show my kid, because I'm doing Billy the Kid, then I got Cue Ball, and with Mike Barron. We can get to that later. And that is just like martial arts and Westerns and stuff. So I wanted something innocent. He gave me the shot. I knocked it out in 3 weeks. The book's out. It's in print. You can get it at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever comic books are sold. And I suggest you call up Jan Salabas Secret Stash just to order yours today.
Oh, there you go. Nice one. Now, how about the Accelerators? What's that?
Oh, my God. It's a story about a group of individuals that only can fall forward through time. They're falling forward through time to get back to the time they're trying to get to. Now, when Ronnie Porto explained this on that I Sell Comics episode, my nipples perked up so hard. I was like, why the hell this isn't a movie? Why isn't this a show? It was just amazing. I wanted it. But my brother, Gavin Smith, he's my brother. You my brother. You work with the company. We're friends. We're brothers. I don't play that we're brothers in arms because it's us against the other people. Like when I say other people, lazy artists who can't finish their fucking books. So he's not a lazy artist. He grew. I just kept being impressed with the kid, and he definitely owns that book, man. And he's the artist. He's the penciler and inker. But that story just compels me. They kind of fall forward in time just to get back to their time they came from. I had to be in. I had to get in, man. So I did a couple pinups. I did 14 and 15. And then I'm on issue number 18 right now. And I got my colorist, Lamette, who's coloring Billy the Kid, and he did a pinup on Accelerators issue 18 that's out right now at Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. Please order it today. I'm in love with that book. Maybe one day, if they revisit it after this run, because volume 4 is out, called Backwards and Forwards, is out now, and you can get yours at Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash right here. Ask Ghetto Steve Dave and order yours today. Maybe one day I'll be on there in a full run and I can draw those characters, but for right now, I'm just so happy where Tom's got me at. I'm just happy. I get to work with Justin Gray. I'm just very, 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 very lucky. I'm very lucky.
Now, tell me about Cue Ball with Mike Barron.
Oh, yeah, Mike Barron. Now, me and Walt Flanagan never talked before, right? But he knows of me. I know of him. We know of each other because we kind of in the same camp, same family here. Now, he's a big Mike Barron fan. Now, the irony of this Cue Ball situation is this. I heard him talking to Kevin on the podcast on Batman on Batman. Sorry to mention all these other pods on your pod, but...
Oh, that's fine, but you heard who? You heard Mike Barron?
I heard Walt Flanagan talking to Kevin about Mike Barron. And then it was just funny how he was just fawning over the way he wrote. I thought that was adorable because I was a fan of Mike Barron back in the day, too. Now, Mike Barron was the first comic book writer to lead the big two. He wrote for Batman, Punisher, all the big guns. But he was the first one to ever lead the big two to prove that you don't need their backing to make a viable character. So he left, made Red Badger of Justice, and he made Nexus, drawn by Steve Rude. The Rude dude, Steve Rude, the man himself, who did a pinup on the back of my Cue Ball book. Now, he's fawning over, and I was like, that's awesome. It was just ironic. I meet Mike Barron the year after I hear that interview with Walt. I meet him. He comes to my table, and I had Serial Tax at the time, and he's like, you didn't draw that. I was like, yes, I did. And he was like, you did? And I had all this artwork on there, all these books. I drew all of them myself. And he gave me the card, and I wanted to get paid at the time. But he's like, man, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pay you. He wanted to build an IP with me. But I ended up working with Ron Fortier. Ron Fortier, he is a famous comic book writer. He wrote a story, a Terminator, with Alex Ross. Everybody knows Alex Ross is. He helped give Alex Ross his start in the Terminator one shot on Dark Horse back in the day. But I ended up doing the book with him, price for the asking. And so I just did one issue of that, finished that, just to get the name credit. And then later, Mike Barron came back to me because he heard me on the internet bitching, groaning, and moaning about how black characters and brown characters are represented in comics. I was like, come on. Why we got to have black this and the brown that? We already got Black Panther. We already got Luke Cage. We already got Black Lightning on DC. Do we call Spider-Man the White Spider or Thor the Ivory Hammer? Do we?
I'm glad you brought that up because that has bothered me always, and I'm not even really a comic book dude.
Yeah, it bothered me. So I'm like, you don't have to have that. So I say, why can't we just have a regular American badass who just beats bad guys up?
And he just happens to be black.
Yeah, he just happens to be black. And so Mike Barron goes, Barry, I got an idea. Mike Barron is as well as a legendary writer. He is a 4th degree black belt. So he knows martial arts personally, like my dad does too. My dad does Jet Kwon Do. He teaches as well. No, he teaches Tai Chi. I'm sorry, Pops. He just got his black sash last year.
Why can't it just be a sash that happens to be black, man? Why do you got to be like that?
Exactly. See, it trickles down. It's systemic. It's systemic. So I never stop. But anyway, but this motherfucker, right? He comes to me and he's like, Barry, I got an idea. His name is Cue Ball. We was going to go Cue Ball or Stick. And then we went cue ball. Then the philosophy behind him, he's just basically an ex-merchant marine, sailorman, and he studies the art of Kali Espedama, which is the art of the stick. And on his downtime, he's a pool shark. He owns his own factory in Manila or whatever, but he comes from the streets of Chicago. He's ex-military. So you already know, and he does martial arts, just like Invasion USA, Rambo before him, or any other badass 80s flick, you know is big muscles, big action, explosions, and that's all you fucking need. We're not trying to make a political statement with the bugs. We're just trying to entertain you to see somebody do some cool kung fu moves. And so Mike Barron liked the design of it because he said no capes. We had a no cape mandate. So Mike Barron goes like this, bro. Hey, put him in a baggy hoodie and some baggy pants and some boots. I was like, no, man, we can't do that. We'll look like Luke Cage. He wanted me with a bald head, too. I said, he's military. Give him a high and tight cut. And then put a scar on his eye, a toothpick in his mouth like Indiana Jones has his fedora. He's got cut-off sleeves. He basically dressed like me with a wallet chain. And another touch, I put him in Wallaby Clarks, not old-school Kung Fu Joe Bruce Lee slippers. I put him in Wallaby Clarks like the Wu-Tang Clan wear.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Bringing it to more our time. And I always said this. Everybody loves this character. Old white guys, little Indian girls. Football's for everybody. He has no demographic. And I said this. If two white guys made cue ball, he'll be talking about like this. Hey, what's up, Daddy-O? Now, if two black guys made cue ball, it'd be so big he can't do kung fu. So the perfection of cue ball is that it's an old white guy who is a legend in the industry. He's a 4th-degree black belt. He knows martial arts and action. And a comic book artist who loves action and martial arts because his mom was a kung fu geek and loves that. And he's actually black, and he knows what black people talk like today and look like today. That's why cue ball works perfectly. And that's why he has no demographic like Batman, Superman, or Ninja Turtles as well. He's everything that you want. And then when you really looked at the philosophy of cue ball, that cue ball knocks all the balls off the table all the time. There you go.
Yeah, that's its job. Well done. I like that.
Thank you.
Tell me about tell me how you and I got connected. I don't even remember.
Oh, my God. I had to seek you out, bro. I had to because I listened to a couple of your pods because they were advertised on the ant community's page as I'm a proud ant here.
On what platform?
It was the Four Color Demons page on Facebook.
On Facebook? Okay.
Yeah. And you advertised the interview you did with Walt. That's what made my antennas go up. And then I was like, oh, you got Walt on there. And Walt's like a bro to me because he does amazing art. I'm a huge fan of his work. Everything from Cacophony and everything he does, War of the Undead, and the new property that he as well has out right now on Blue Juice Comics, Knights of the Fifth Dimension. That's out now. You can get that at Jan Silent Bob Secret Stash right now. Again, I heard the interview. You did a great interview, by the way.
Thank you.
You asked such great questions. You did. You asked some really good questions, and it was really, really fun, man. And I'm the type of guy, I'm locked with a ball and chain at the desk. I'm homeschooling my kids during COVID, man. So it was a real joy to hear you and Walt talk. And I love hearing Walt talk because he knows comics like Mike Zabzik does. Mike Zabzik knows comics deeply as well. Plan on working with him one day as well. And again, you just seem like a joy to talk to, and you didn't seem like a dick. And I was like, I like guys like this. That's why I'm here.
Well, you know, Barry, that really hurts my feelings because I work really, really hard to make people think I'm a dick. So it's not working. I'm going to have to double down and try harder. Thanks for the notes.
I think you might have to do a little bit harder job, buddy.
Now, how did you get hooked up with the TESD folks and Ming and Mike and all those fools?
Like I said, through Blue Juice Comics, after I heard that interview and everything like that, they met the writer of Serial Tech, the book I mentioned that got me in, Matt Pierce at, I want to say, Colorado Springs Con. Mike and Ming met them. So he gives them an issue of Serial Tags, and I send some issues of Canada Jack out there. Ming allowed me to do that. And so, you know, I'm just kind of like ghosting them a little bit. And in between that time, I get a job with Blue Juice, and I do those pinups. Now you're going to see the connection here. They did that interview, and I listened to the interview with Tom Mom, and then he said, yeah, Barry McClain's kicking ass on these pinup stores. My heart just dropped. I was like, he said my name a year ago. I wasn't even a part of it. And he said my name. Oh, Tom said my name. I said I'm kicking ass because I do. But I'm like, oh, my God. And then that right there is when my name gets into their ear.
Gotcha.
And then at that point, it's just been nonstop. Now, my inker, Phil Will, he's my inker. We've been doing together since I was trying to get him in the Valiant. Luckily, he inks for Walt Flanagan now on Metro. And Metro is a comic book written by Colin Bunn and created by Brian Quinn of Impractical Jokers and inked by Phil Will and penciled by the incomparable Walter Flanagan. And so if my inker is working with Walt, that is another connection. And then I said, you know what? Let's just do some ant artwork specifically for the ants. And so me and Phil Will start doing these pinups and posters, right, for the ant community. And so we did one. It was the Secret Stash, Solicited Soliloquies of Supernatural Stash Secrets, the special Stash edition poster. You can get that at Jan Silent Bob Secret Stash. Again, I want to give money back to the conglomerate and the brick and mortar. I'm fine, people.
Sure.
And now I did that. I had Phil Will ink that one. And again, Walt's handing the pictures out inside, handing the posters out and handing the pamphlets out with people that buy comic books. This is before COVID. Then I go, you know what? That's not good enough, because I'm not only a fan, I'm a part of this shit here. And I like the initiative of good comics. Now, Brian Johnson said something about Tom Lum. It was a joke that he said on the pod one time, and he made him not get likes, and people start unliking the Blue Juice page, and I ain't like that very well. And so I go, know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get the ants to like me, and then that shit ain't going to happen no more. So you ain't going to be able to do nothing like that, even though it was a joke. And so that's when I started infiltrating the ant community, and then I gave them their first logo of the 13%er ant, because we had none. I heard the guys bitching and moaning on the pod saying that we ain't got nothing for the 13%ers. We ain't even got a logo. So I decided to draw it. And now you can look at that now. You can Google it, 13%er logo. Some of the 13%er ants running around with it tattooed on their body. I did that. And so that right there is just building more rapport between me and Walt Flanagan.
Hell yeah. How does it feel when somebody puts your art on their arm in a tattoo?
Oh, my God. Definitely if it's an ant, which is intended for, it's beautiful. It makes you want to cry. And again, I did templates for people to tattoo on themselves, but when I do a logo, but specifically for you in representation of you, and you put it on your body immediately, mission accomplished. I'm like one of those politicians that do policy that never want credit. You'd be like, oh, my God, now we got bounty in every bathroom stall? How did that happen? You find out it was Barry McClain that gave you bounty. In every stall. Because I don't need credit for shit like that. I like to do stuff and let it grow and watch it grow. I believe in the ripple effect. It always comes back to you, my friend. The fates work this way. You don't need to press the fact. If you're a good person, you're a good person, and it always comes back to you. That's just how I was raised. I'm a true believer in that. That's why I'm willing to eat shit and take shit if the cause is good and true.
Nice. I love it. Now, I think there's a book we didn't talk about. You're doing something with Mike Duke, right?
Yes, my friend Mike Duke. Now, me and Mike Duke go back like me and Matt Pierce go back. Mike Duke was with me when I got signed with Valiant. He's a brother. He's my brother, too. I love him. He's one of the best writers that was never heard. When I got signed, I had to make sure that I had the right opportunity to get him on a project, and it had to be the right project because he can write anything. I guarantee you Mike Duke can write anything, and he's so good. You know how I know? Because I drew a book with Brandon Easton, the writer for Lost. It was called Armor Marauders in Singapore. I did that. I write with Justin Gray. He got a new show called Random Acts of Violence. It's a horror show. You can see it on the horror channel, Shudder, I think. So I know a good writer, and I know a shitty writer. Mike Duke is a good writer. So I had this idea, right? Because I love Vikings. I love metal. I'm a huge heavy metalhead. I'm just a metalhead to the core. And I love RPGs and Dungeons and Dragons. I love shit like that. And I also love adventure stories in general and video games. I also design video games for Rebel Games. We're an upstart company right now, and I do all the artwork for our up-and-coming games here. And so I wanted to merge all that. I wanted to get my ultimate geek off, but I wanted to do a little epic story of 6-parters. In, get out. I don't want to do a whole ongoing of this story. So I was like, they had to be a black Viking sometime through history. And then I was looking, and I seen the concept of Thanes. That's what they call the darker skinned black Vikings of that time. And then I just built it on it, and then I made it a love story, and it's basically a love story kind of like Dante's Inferno. It has elements of that. It has elements of the movie Heavy Metal. It has elements of Lord of the Rings. It has elements of all that type of stuff. And if you're into stuff like that, you're really going to enjoy this 6-part epic that we're putting together.
And what's the name of that book?
The Order of Dane. You can look at my Facebook page or my Instagram page to see some snippets of it and stuff like that. But it's really like an ode to rhythm and blues and heavy metal, and it kind of shows how they're both connected. And as well, you get a whole bunch of demons. He's slaying demons with big-ass sword and guitar. What the fuck you want, man?
Since you brought up Facebook, Barry, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on all the social medias?
Yes, you can reach me at Barry McClain Jr., comic book artist on Facebook. You see my face on there. I probably got a COVID mask on. You can get me at stay_broke on Instagram. You can Google me. You can get me at mechaworkshop.com, Barry McClain Jr. You can check out the stuff I did on Armor Arters because I'm a part of that team with Brandon Easton and Valiant Wing in Singapore. You can check me at buybluejuice.com and get all my Accelerator stuff, issues 14, 15, and 18. And I'm in the trade Relativity in the up-and-coming trade backwards and forwards. And I'm also have a one-shot in the Ambani. It's called Ambani Volume 2, Monsters and Magi. And you can call Dan Silent Bob Secret Stash to order an issue of Cue Ball, issue number 1, written by Mike Barron, the man himself, if you like martial arts stuff like that. But yeah, man, I'm real easy to get at. I give advice all the time online, and I'm always fucking drawing all the time. And when this COVID shit like clear up, I can't wait to shake everybody's hands again and engage with the audiences again. That's just where it's at, you know.
Yeah, that's going to be fun times. Well, Barry, I've kept you for about an hour.
You did? An hour, that's all? Oh, man, we didn't even get to my flight to the moon. You know, we got to do it again, my friend.
Yeah, we do. But as we're heading out, is there anything we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you about that you wanted to talk about today?
Well, I mean, like, honestly, man, the fact that I got to mention Mike Barron and I got to mention Justin Gray, my two brothers in this right now, because, again, I don't know who's going to publish Cue Ball right now. It's too early to say, but I think you're going to like it if it does go through. But it's got a home anyway, even if it doesn't. But Billy the Kid will be coming out on Blue Juice Comics. I started out on pinups, guys. I want all you kids to understand that you can make it if you really fucking don't give up. Because you're talking to a guy who got in his 30s now. I've been working all the way up till now because I penciled my books and I never gave up and finished my work. Don't give up, man. And like now, Billy the Kid is now on Blue Juice, and I'm inking the last couple pages. Got my team intact. But I do want to give a couple shout-outs real quick.
Do it.
I want to shout out to my man Charlie Hogg, the colorist on Cue Ball. He's my brother. He colors for me on Blue Juice with the Ambani stuff. He does beautiful work. He's my brother across the pond over there in Britain, man. I love you, dude. Yeah, I don't know what I'd do without you. Shout out to Justin Gray and Mike Barron. They put up with me, man. They did put up with me, and they do put up with me. I know I don't make it easy because I do have a lot of demands, but I love you so much, and we're going to get there. And Tom, I love you, man. Like, for Tom, like, he treats me like a company should, and he's a great guy. And if anybody ever has this opportunity to work with Tom, you better come through, or you're going to have to answer to me. But shout out to Mike Ming and the whole team at TESD. Shout out to all the ants out there, all the Four Color Demons out there. But I just want y'all all to remember to burn lead till you're dead, because that's the philosophy, you know?
Nice. I like that. Burn lead till you're dead.
All day.
I've never heard that before. I like it, dude.
I know, because I made it.
All right. Well, Barry Tyrone McClain Jr., thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street, man. I really appreciate it.
Nah, man, I appreciate you, man. I really do. You was just such a pleasure, man. I really appreciate you.
Well, that warms my heart, and you have a great rest of your day.
You too, brother. Later.
All right, bye.
Love you, man.
As always, thanks for listening, Streetwalkers. And don't forget, follow the show on Twitter at FascinationSTPD, on Instagram at Fascination Street Pod. Follow the podcast page on Facebook at Fascination Street Podcast. And of course, you can always email me at fascinationstreetpod@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and rate us on iTunes. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us, and and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.